There are days when a single sentence is enough to dim the light of an entire world inside us. A cold look, a sharp tone, a message left unanswered, and suddenly the mind becomes a battlefield. What was light turns heavy. The peace that once felt solid crumbles within moments. And what's most puzzling is that most of the time, the person who wounded us doesn't even notice the damage they've done. But why do we allow someone else's words to have such power over our balance? Why can a seemingly ordinary comment turn a bright day into a storm? The answer lies in the way we interpret reality. It's not the sound that hurts, it's the meaning we give it. When we take everything personally, we turn another person's voice into a mirror of our own worth. We start to see rejection where there was distraction, contempt where there was haste, criticism where there was simply confusion. Suffering doesn't arise from what we hear, but from what we believe those words say about us. More than 2,000 years ago, the Buddha understood this silent pain that consumes the human heart. He saw that the mind, by its nature, distorts, judges, and clings. And to heal that invisible wound, he taught a path that doesn't depend on the silence of others, but on the serenity within. A path built on awareness, compassion, and freedom. Today, let's walk through 5 teachings that can restore mastery over your own peace. 5 ways to free yourself from the emotional prison that forms when you believe that everything is about you. Teaching 1. What others say is not always about you. Much of the pain we feel comes from an illusion that everything that hurts us was directed at us. But the truth is very different. People speak and act from their own inner weather, from their fatigue, their insecurities, their unresolved wounds. When someone judges you, they're rarely seeing you clearly. They're projecting, reacting, reliving memories they haven't healed. In spiritual terms, the Buddha called this conditioned action. Every person responds to the world through the lens of their own mind. So a harsh tone, a rude remark, or an indifferent gesture often reveals more about the state of the speaker than about the listener. When someone criticizes you, ask yourself, does this reflect me or their pain? Almost always, the answer reveals that the burden was never yours. When you return that energy with understanding instead of offense, the cycle of suffering dissolves. It's not about tolerating disrespect, it's about refusing to carry what does not belong to your heart. Detachment begins when you stop collecting the thorns that others throw. Teaching 2. The story the mind creates. The mind is an untiring storyteller. Someone doesn't reply to your message, and within seconds it writes a whole script. I must have said something wrong. They're avoiding me. I'm not important. But the event itself is neutral, just silence, nothing more. Everything else is imagination. The Buddha called this Maya, the illusion born of thought. He taught that if we want to end suffering, we must learn to see a thought as just a thought, a passing cloud, not the truth of the sky. When a painful idea appears, gently say to yourself, this is just a story my mind is telling. Notice what happens. The heaviness fades, the body softens, the heart breathes again. Someone may look at you coldly, and the mind instantly translates it as rejection. But perhaps they're just tired, distracted, lost in their own battles. Wisdom lies in admitting, I don't know what's happening inside the other. Man, in that moment you are freed from the need to interpret everything as an attack. The cruelest prison has no walls. It is made of thoughts we never question. Teaching 3. The power of non-reaction. Once, a man insulted the Buddha in front of a crowd. The Buddha remained calm and still, then asked, if someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The man replied, to the one who offered it. And the Buddha said, the same is true of anger. If I do not accept it, it remains yours. That is the power of non-reaction. It's not about being cold or distant, it's about refusing to be a container for another person's anger. Reaction is automatic. Response is wisdom. When provoked, breathe. Observe the impulse to strike back and recognize it comes from the mind, not from your essence. You are not the thought screaming, "Defend yourself." You are the silence that witnesses it. And in that small space between the stimulus and the response, freedom is born. Not reacting isn't weakness, it's mastery. Those who learn not to return aggression with aggression transform chaos into clarity. You stop being part of the storm and become the observer of the wind. Teaching 4. The identity you try to protect. Why do certain words cut so deeply? Because they strike the image we've built of ourselves. When someone says, "You're useless," what hurts isn't the sound, it's the ego's desperate need to prove the opposite. We defend the idea of me as if it was something fixed, but the Buddha showed us that this identity is nothing more than a mirage in constant motion. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago, and tomorrow you won't be the same as today. So why protect a shape that is always changing? The teaching of anatta, or non-self, reveals that there is no permanent I to be hurt. There is only awareness observing the experience. When you understand this, criticism loses its grip, and praise loses its control. What others say ceases to be a mirror, it becomes just sound in the wind. True freedom begins when you no longer need to defend yourself, because you realize that nothing can diminish what never needed proving. Teaching 5, responding with compassion. When the heart stops reacting through the ego, it begins to respond through wisdom. The vision changes. The one who attacks ceases to be an enemy and becomes a suffering soul. Every harsh word comes from unresolved pain. Every impatient gesture is born from inner conflict. Compassion doesn't mean agreement, it means understanding. It whispers, "I see your pain, but I won't let it destroy my peace." The Buddha called this metta, benevolent love. It's the strength to remain rooted when everything around you trembles. When someone wounds you, remain silent and think, "May this person find peace. May they be freed from the suffering that makes them act this way." That simple inner blessing shields your heart from the poison of anger and prevents the spread of suffering. True strength lies in not inheriting the chaos of others. When you respond with kindness, you do not become weak, you become immune. In that state, no word can truly wound you, because your consciousness no longer lives on the surface of reaction, but in the depth of understanding. Inner liberation. The greatest illusion is believing we must change the world to find peace. In truth, we only need to change how we perceive it. People will continue to act from their fears and desires, but when you realize that someone's words reflect their mind, not your essence, everything changes. Criticism will still exist. Disappointments too, but within you the impact will be different, because now you understand what others say belongs to their story, not yours. And that is the precise moment when freedom begins, when you stop being a victim of what you hear and become the guardian of your own silence. As the Buddha said, peace arises the moment you stop taking things personally, not when people become kinder, but when consciousness awakens. Serenity is not the absence of noise, it's the wisdom of not letting the noise enter. And the beautiful truth is that this wisdom already lives within you. You only need to remember it with every breath, every pause, every choice not to react. If this message touched something within you, remember, every act of awareness spreads light in a world still filled with reaction. Leave a like as a gesture of gratitude for this reflection. Subscribe to continue receiving teachings that strengthen the mind and calm the heart. And share this message with someone who needs to remember that healing begins the moment you decide not to take things personally. Because each time you choose peace over ego, the whole world breathes a little lighter.